why we just go live. I wanted to say it's a very interesting topic. All right, we're live. Yeah.
Yay, we're live. What's happening, people? Good evening. Happy Friday to all of you. Live from Berlin, Germany. Also live from Nigeria. Where are you staying, Mike, in Nigeria again?
I'm in Kaduna State.
Kaduna State. We're in the north. So this evening, we're back again, as always, every other Friday to talk about one of the key topics around the migration space. And today we're talking about jobs in Europe, let's call them menial jobs or small jobs in Europe versus the minimum wage back home. But the broader perspective here is, yeah, which one is actually worth the while, worth the time, and everything else. As always, you are welcome to join the conversation wherever you're watching us from: LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name them. Before we proceed, over to my co host, Mike, who's joining us from Nigeria this evening. It's transmitting. So it seems like we're having a bit of a network problem there, and it finally landed to Mike. He's nodding his head. Mike, if you can hear me, go on, please.
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah, like you said, it's a very interesting topic. Menial jobs in Europe versus minimum wage in Africa. Nigeria, you can make it case specific. Ghana, Liberia, Senegal in Africa. So, and there's been always this issue about maybe an attempt to mock those of you who are doing very serious jobs in Europe, like maybe fruit picking, caregiving, and factory job works and all of that. So and some persons want to say, like in our own local palace, they say, my dead body that they watch for mortuary, nothing did that thing. They will just come and cut the form for us. I try to undermine the dignity of labor, of what you guys are doing over there in Europe. Very recently, I call it the Bwala Wahala. The conundrum, which Bwala was saying, somebody who earns 60,000 in Nigeria is better off than somebody who is doing caregiving job in Europe. And I was like, most of our friends who have traveled abroad. And I was wondering, so where do we place all of this? I am in Nigeria. You are in Europe, in Canada. I'm in Germany. Can we place this thing? When we are talking about the labor force, the contexts are different. The labor market different. The economy different. Strength of currency different. When we're talking about the work, job, labor force, should we be talking about prestige of the work of the job or the value that the job gives? So this is what this conversation is all about today. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Great point. Really great point. It's a really common say I could remember before I came, to Germany. You hear people say things like, forget abroad. They're just washing plates there or cleaning dead bodies, as you mentioned, or caring for old people and all this kind of stuff. But like you put the question, is it a matter of prestige or respect for the labor that people do, dignity of labor, as you put it? Or what exactly is behind, let's call it this stigmatization, that people wouldn't respect, the genuine hard work that other people are doing here. But maybe coming back to you, how do you see it in general? I would like to understand your thoughts behind it, your not necessarily your perspective, but a bit of more insight into it. How do people perceive it from back home? And I can now give some insight from what the actual situation here is and what we also see and how we describe it from, let's say, the abroad perspective, if that makes any sense. And my co-host is gone, and I am left alone here. Okay. Anyways, I think people who it's very easy to talk about things that you probably don't know about, a topic that you're not familiar with. It's very easy for people to become. Did you hear the last thing I said, Mike? I wasn't sure before you left. Yeah, because this topic is really hot and we need to hit hard
Said,
right
I don't
now.
know if you heard what I was saying.
I heard your part, and then I wanted you to throw a bit more light into, say, the thought process of people back home, what they think about it, how they perceive it, why that kind of thought process, that mindset. Maybe understand the stigma a bit more, and then I can also give my perspective from here. So that's what I was saying.
Okay, well, I don't know why the network today is just trying to misbehave. It's not been friendly. It keeps coming like a cracked dicks. I wasn't getting what you were saying very clearly. So if you could just come over it again very quickly. That's if you can hear me now, please.
100%, I can hear you. And to all our viewers, really sorry about this slow transmission from here to there. And Mike is frozen, so I'm probably sure he won't hear me, whatever I'm saying. But, anyways, for the sake of everyone who is still watching us, the key point is this: if you're living abroad and you have something that you do, um, yeah, you should be proud of what you do, definitely, regardless of what people say back home, because the truth is, no one knows why exactly you're doing what you do. Of course, as long as it's completely legal and allowed in your destination, then by all means, you do what you have to do. Key thing that people need to understand is because I am doing something today does not mean that's what I'm going to do always. I recall some years back, I was following this guy on Twitter, and he was always talking about how you could move abroad via other countries, like Turkey, for example, or some other Eastern European countries. And most of the talks was directed in such a way that it's like you can start from these places as stepping stones and then arrive. That was like the undertone in the context, but I didn't really get that. For me, I felt like most of these people, they want to arrive in Western Europe, Germany, for example, Austria, Switzerland, Spain, Italy, and then in my head I was like, why do you have to go to these other countries only to plan how to come here again? But I didn't really understand the full picture. So people go through this route as stepping stones because sometimes the requirements to come to Germany directly might be very difficult. And who knows what your situation is there. You just need to make something out of your current situation, out of what you have at hand. So again, stepping stone, you know your destination, but you're starting from somewhere. And that is the case with most people here. Although, of course, there's the other side that people finally settle for that. But again, before we judge anyone, it's really good that we understand why are they doing what and what's their aim. And most times people don't they have no idea about these things and they just conclude. And I think that's the sad part. Mike, are you back? Can you hear us now? Hmm. Yep. So I guess I'm going to do this show alone today because that's really how it's going. So, if you're at home, you're watching these, and you're speaking about people who are abroad and not respecting the kind of jobs that they do, feeling that, yeah, you're better off than them or they could do better. Well, what are you doing first and foremost? And what are those things that you think that they can do, right? Maybe instead of, say, criticizing them negatively, you could first understand what the situation is for them. And if you have this information, maybe tell them about it because they may not have the right qualification. Again, someone who is a banker in Nigeria cannot just come to Germany and continue the banking profession. Hardly a chance, you know, because first and foremost, the way you get into such jobs, they might be completely different. Not to even talk about the language barrier, and not to even talk about the banking system. You know, a doctor in Nigeria or Kenya, wherever, moving to Germany, cannot begin to practice medicine right away. No way. You will take the state exams, you will learn the language, you meet up, you will close the gaps in knowledge if applicable to you. So just so you understand that someone who is doing something back home cannot just come here and continue doing that same profession. No, there's always a gap. You need to close that gap. And in the meantime, you have to do something. I've seen a friend of mine I met recently is a neurosurgeon. I think he's been practicing, medicine now for probably 10 years or more. And then in his previous destination, there was some situation. He moved to Germany. Now he's doing the so-called menial jobs, the way we describe it. But he's, a well-experienced person, at least 10 years experience working as a medical doctor where he used to be before. But then coming to Germany, you need to, um, let's say, you need to meet, not necessarily meet up, but you need to get the necessary certification and license to practice here. And in the meantime, how do you pay your bills? You cannot easily just get an IT job, because that would be like moving completely away from your profession. So in the interim, you have to do something, while you're trying to like get all your certifications converted to the German standard, take the state exam, learn the language. These things takes months and sometimes years, and you cannot easily switch to another profession. Like you could do that, of course, if you want to, but if you still want to practice a profession, and in the meantime, while you're trying to convert, you have to do something. Of course, there are the other side of people that this is they come, that's what they start, and that's what they do all along. Part of also what we talk about in my podcast, this version and the other one, opportunity pause, these are the things that we also talk about, encouraging people, not to settle for less, understand your potentials, see what, is available in the country for you. So there are these conversations, but I just need people to understand that when you see someone doing what you would describe as a menial job, try to understand the bigger picture before you criticize them. Yeah.
So, Mike, it's not really funny from my end, and I apologize to our audience for going on and off. It's just due to the poor network situation from poor connectivity from my end here. So, yeah, it's a very important topic. Like I said, when you're talking about job, I think it's about the value you get from the work you do. And the basic thing about any job that you're doing, whatever, is about adding value and solving problems, and in return, earning a living from it, and which earns you a good quality of life, and all of that. So, live good living standard. If you look
Hmm.
at the situation here, this is not to put down skilled job, maybe like highly skilled job, like you just mentioned, like the medical profession and neurosurgeon and all of that. So that is not to say one is better than the other, but just to say let's if you're looking at a job that somebody is doing, you don't or by the job that the person does, but by the value that the person adds. I think that's very
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
also, there are jobs in Europe that may be considered like the way we tend to undermine it here in Africa or in Nigeria, as case may be, like caregiving jobs. But by the time you look at it, based on reality, I understand in Germany, a caregiver earns between 1,500 to slightly above 2,000 or about 2,500 euros
Hmm.
monthly. You
Hmm.
know, this caregiver also has pension contribution, gets access to health insurance and a whole lot of other benefits. The ability
Yeah.
to build yourself financially and then grow your profession.
Yeah.
But somebody who is working here, and then you look at the value of this money. How much is 70,000 naira compared to 70 euro? What value can you get from 70 euro and 70,000 naira if you want to compare all of these things?
Hmm.
So it's really, and again, to drive home my point again, the average doctor in Nigeria earns between 500 to 700,000 naira. If you're at entry level or experience level, senior doctors and all that. But the average salary for a doctor in Nigeria is between 500 to 700,000 naira. And by the time
Monthly.
you do the conversion for the caregiver in Europe, who is earning like, let me say, 1,500 even, but I think the range is between 1,500 to 2,500 euros, 2,500 euros. So by the time you compare it, the average caregiver in Europe earns about 4 million to 5 million in a month when you convert it to the Nigerian naira,
Yeah.
whereas the doctor in Nigeria who is earning 1 million naira is a big boy. Did you get that now? I
Hmm.
will never forget sometime when we're having a conversation on this platform where you say that you got a plantain for 1 euro. I will say, 1 euro, got you a plantain. If
Yeah.
you still
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. Of course, I do. I do. Yeah. 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 Hmm.
Hi,
Yeah.
Mike. You see, remember when
Yeah.
you mentioned getting maybe a plantain for 1 year? Okay, so but in this place, you cannot get anything at all for 1 naira. There is no 1 naira item in the market. In fact, 100 naira almost can't get you anything tangible. But
Yep.
in Europe, you can get something for €1, you can get something for €2. I was running some expense retirement for my principal when I was working in my former organization, and I saw that their transport system, I'll be seeing for a reasonable distance £2, £1, 1.5 pound, £3.
Mm. And he's gone again. It's a terrible network today, so we apologize for that. But coming back again and trying to put context to what we're saying, the point at the end of the day is this: it really doesn't matter how much you're earning in your location, because at the end of the day, nobody knows your expenses, your standard of living, compulsory contributions which you have to make, the tax system in your location. So you couldn't really compare these things one to one. A doctor earns X $1,000, naira, whatever currency per month, and on the other side they earn X thousand euros per month. At the end of the day, the systems wherein they live are completely different, and also how they spend this money and what they do with it is also different. Um, so it would really be great to understand what's the thought process of people who try to criticize others abroad who are doing, say, let's say not the so flashy jobs, versus as opposed to people who are doing, say, more flashy jobs back home. Honestly, my opinion, they are really, what's the point of comparison? Why are you comparing them? For what purpose? To say, oh, don't do that stuff here, come back home. Well, there is also that part, which sometimes I say that for some people, moving abroad is a downgrade for them. That's a fact. I know friends here back home, like the place where they live today in Germany, is is like like 4 times less than what where they used to live back home in Nigeria. Like in Nigeria, they were living in mansions, and here they come and they're living in like super small place, sharing bathroom and toilet with their kids and stuff, which is not such a common thing back home for most, you know, parents working and earning well. So you find out that for some people, for sure, it's a downgrade. But again, you don't know why they moved here. You don't know. There are other things which you enjoy here as well, right? So it's a kind of trade-off. Mike, if you can hear me, I was just saying that at the end of the day, what really matters is why are you doing what you're doing? What's the aim? For some people, definitely moving abroad and living the lifestyle here is a downgrade for them. Downgrade in the sense that if you compare their standard of living here versus the one back home, you know, for others, it's just what they like. And even within that downgraded situation, maybe there are other things which they had to trade off, for the security, the peace of mind, the healthcare system, the good infrastructures, who knows what, right? But then on the other side, you probably live in a much smaller place, smaller bathroom, toilet you shared with you with your kids and stuff. Um, but again, you can still live whatever lifestyle you want wherever you are, be that here, be that at home. You just have to work towards that purpose. But I don't think it would make sense for anyone to compare that, hey, why are you doing that? Just come back home and do this. You could advise or recommend, but I think the final decision is now up to the person in question to say, okay, hey, where do I want to invest my time more, my resources? Where do I want to give value? Because again, it comes to the value that you want to offer within the society where you are and what you're also gaining from the society. Because as you put in your labor to the society gives back to you as well, right? So you cannot put in labor in one society and want to gain from another society or gain from another society and put elsewhere. So it's a whole mess. So at the end, it's give and take where you get from where you're putting in. And I think this is more like how I'm thinking about it. You're muted though.
Oh, I'm muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that that's very true because it's about the value add and the quality of life you get from the value that you are adding. It's not like in a situation I'm back at home here, Michael, and I
Yeah.
can tell you categorically with authority that a lot of doctors, like their vehicles are parked at home now. They have cars that they can't use because they can't fuel it, they can't maintain the cars because of the harsh economy.
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know so
Mm-hmm.
now And again, back at home here, you cannot plan your life for like 1 quarter because of the unstable nature of the economy. Today, fuel
Yeah.
is 1,000. Tomorrow it is 1,500. The other day it
Mhm.
is 800. Or
Yep.
the cost for transport today is so so so. Tomorrow it's like so so so. Somebody came from Germany the other day and he was telling me how the e-hailing system works there, like these boats and all that. How it works there. And when he came back here, he said, "You guys are still using this type of car in Nigeria? Uh-uh. This type of car still exists." Because I know some of our people when they travel to Europe, they see what we are using as big boys here is what you guys are using there as for Uber and Bolt and all that. So the context are not even the same, and even the
Yeah.
government supports people. A lady was on Facebook the other day talking about how the government helped her in a scheme, got her trained, and now she's driving public bus,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
she's anywhere in Germany, and that they
That's
trained
great.
her while the training was ongoing, that the government was paying her
Yeah.
monthly stipends
Yes.
to help
Yes.
her to continue to stay afloat within
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
period and all of that. Imagine these kind of beautiful stories, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So that's what I'm saying, Um it's not very straightforward as people think about it. And then at the end of the day, if you start comparing the earning to say this one is earning this and that one is earning that, they're a big boy here, they're a big boy here, a completely different story. But please help me understand again the bottom line of this our topic today. Like, what was the motivation? What's the story behind it? I'm not familiar with it
Now,
actually.
yeah, no, no, I was saying that recently a top politician in the country, a senior advisor to the president by the name Daniel Bwala, he mentioned that someone who is earning 60,000 naira in Nigeria is better off than most of our friends and brothers who have moved abroad, who are doing all manner of menial jobs like caregiving and fruit picking and all that, and that what we don't know is that what most of you are doing, that most of you are being supervised by even people who have not gone to school. That you do this job, you are a doctor, you are a professional, and then you go abroad, you pick up jobs, and your supervisors are people who have not even gone to school. So, and that seems to undermine the very genuine effort that the diasporas are putting in
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
this caregiving job, from these fruit picking jobs and all that. So it's not befitting of a public office holder and of that level to
Mm-hmm.
make such comments. So, and that's what we're trying to make.
Mm.
But Michael, for those
Yeah.
of you who are over there, what is the reality of ground? Do you think me in Nigeria? That's why at the beginning I was trying to compare
Mm.
70 euro compared to 60,000, which is small. And how much value can you get from these two?
Yeah.
Like that was what I was
Yeah.
trying to make a reference to where you said €1. Sometimes I use it to buy, I think, a piece of plantain, which was enough for you for a meal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Maybe we can, but before we even do some calculation, what exactly was his point? Is he saying that people shouldn't go abroad? I want to really understand what's his point, because first and foremost, that comparison is not realistic in any way. That's the first and foremost thing. 60k naira, 60k naira can do nothing in Nigeria
Yeah.
for most people. Sadly, that's what they earn. It doesn't mean it actually does anything for them. At least from the little I know, that's what people earn, but it doesn't mean it can cover their cost of living. No way.
I know it
Even if
can't
it
take you
does,
home. The 60,000 naira can't take you home. It can't pay your transport.
can imagine. So exactly, what's the point? I don't really get that. Let's even start from there. Even without trying to compare with any other application within Nigeria, what can 60k do for you? So what
Yeah.
exactly was his point? Maybe let
No,
me
I
let me
think
even understand it.
it was all about trying to push a narrative that the country is fine, and that for those of us who are here, that the living standard is higher, it is better, the quality of life we are living here is better, and that for those who are running away, that they are making the wrong decision. That the best decision you can make as a young man who means well for his life is to stay back here because the condition is very conducive. I think that's the point he's trying to make.
For
And his
real?
job is to show the government in a good light.
That's really sad. When you lie to people in broad daylight, it's really sad.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so of course, in as much I'm here to inform people on how they can make the right decisions to move abroad. If you recall everything that we talk about, we say abroad is not the solution. No,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
the solution. It might be for one person, it might not be for you. So you have to get the full picture. What exactly do you want to do? And it's what you want to do, the kind of life you want to live, that will determine, should I go abroad? Should I stay back home? What should I do? You know, for a lot of people, it's a downgrade. That's the fact. But definitely 60K, 70K, even 100K within the current situation back home in Nigeria, that cannot really do a lot for you. And if we would even compare it one to one, there's really no way to compare it, because you earn 60K and you spend it there. You earn whatever you earn here. You don't spend it there, you spend it here. So there's really just at that level no context for comparison at all, you know? Yeah. But definitely the idea here is not everyone go abroad. No, um, we should stay back home. People, and that's also why those of us back, here, are also making contributions back home. Hiring people from home, creating companies back home, putting back into the economy, and of course, those who want to also move abroad, that they understand how to do it the right way. Because at the end of the day, the world is all connected together. You cannot be like in an isolated space. It never works for anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very true, Michael. Because it doesn't even make sense because the contexts are all different. The in terms of value, in terms of the economy, in terms of every other thing, they are both strength of the currency and all that. So they are both different. And I think it's grossly misleading to say that somebody who earns 60K is better off than somebody who is earning whatever is earning in Europe. Because like I said earlier, in Europe you can plan yourself. Over this month, I'm setting this amount aside for gas. I'm setting this amount, this amount for transport. I'm setting amount for transport. Do you know how much we are buying a kg of gas currently? It is between 1,500 to 2,000, 1,500 naira to 2,000. So imagine that somebody is earning 1,500 euro. I am spending 1,500 naira for a kilo of gas. That is that is currently how much we buy. We've bought 1,800, we've bought 1,200. I mean, 2,000 recently. So that's like, if you want to put the value in terms of the figure, what somebody is earning in a month is what you are spending in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what are we even comparing? Like 70,000 naira is not 70 euros here. If you do the conversion, at least 70 euros here is way over 100K, even at the lowest exchange rates,
Yeah.
So it's not like they are even earning the same amount, so to speak. And then plus what you pay for gas here, it's probably not the same as that. So there's really no basis for this comparison, because it's not practical, it's not realistic, um, except maybe someone who is living in Nigeria and then working remotely and earning from here. Then, of course, it's a whole different story. You live in a completely different world, right? Because you earn, better currency, higher value, and then you spend back home. But again, yeah, please.
They're just talking about that because I recall when I was working, I was earning pounds and I was working in Nigeria. And so by the time the conversion is done, in my space I was a big boy. Because if you work, yeah, So when you earn in the hard currency, euro or pounds, and it's converted to Nigeria, you're a big boy. But again, there are no basis for the comparison. I'm like we said earlier, whatever you are doing, the quality of life that it gets for you, that assurance of a future. Because even like we've always mentioned it, like you've always said, you've always maintained that everybody must not come abroad. Come to abroad. You said it, was it last week or so, that if you are doing well in Africa, in Nigeria, in Ghana, you don't need to come to abroad, to come to Europe. Everybody wants to come to Europe. You said it. You said it several here.
Yeah.
So the quality of life that whatever you are doing affords you is the most important thing. The prestige of a job is not measured by the name that it bears, but the value that it gives to you, which translated into the quality of life that you live, the place that you live, or your access to healthcare insurance, your access to also other social safety net. Because if you lose your job here, in 1 month, you're already stranded because the government owes you nothing. And like I just told you about the story of the lady who she gave birth, she said, why did she have to change her option? She went to the government, told them, I cannot continue with my current job because of she's taking care of her baby. She needs a more flexible job. The government, okay, what can you do? She said she would go into this public bus driving. But it's okay, they work out something. You go through the training to be a driver. While you are going through this training, you need to be earning something. They also put on salary payment, which she was earning. And by the time it was done, they gave her the boss, and she is fine. She's a Nigerian, sir, Michael. So,
Yep.
this the contexts are all different. So, government across Africa should learn how to be responsible and not tell lies or make
Yeah.
very unrealistic comparisons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they should not look down on the dignity of work that
At
their
all.
citizens, their parents are doing abroad, because it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
adding to the remittances, which is also
Of
contributing
course.
to national budget
Budget.
very seriously, and
Yep.
infrastructure is back at and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. If we have a way to bring that guy on this show, it would really be great. So maybe he can educate us a bit more, so we understand the background of his, statements, and maybe there are some points we are missing. But really, within the context of what we know, that is just very misleading, and that's sad. So to everyone
Well,
who's watching this, go on, please.
sadly, he's a very big fish, and we might not be able to pull him into the show.
Well, anyway, if he gets a chance to watch this somehow, we would love to learn more from him and understand, bro, what
Yeah.
exactly are you talking about? In which world? In which world is that? You know, and I think that's one of the saddest and very shameful parts, that you come out publicly and lie to the face of people. People are not stupid anymore, you know. And I think this is the part that hurts people the most, that they just can't take it. It's like, you know what, whatever, I would just go.
Yeah.
Literally, that's the feeling and frustration of most people. It's like, this is trash. I can't take it anymore, because you know yourself, you know your value, you know what you can do, and then there's some asshole on the other side just talking trash in this world of today that we live, and information is literally everywhere, and right there that you're standing and talking, you're misleading the people. So a lot of people can't take this, and sometimes it's just easier to move, make the next decision, and in the hope that things will get better. But we cannot all leave, definitely. We need to find some ways to see that we correct the situation. And I think, for me at least, the best I can do so far within my available resources and capacity is to inform people, that that what is available to you, what's obtainable, what you can do for yourself. At the end of the day, we all, and I personally believe that Africa is the future. Nigeria is the future. That's for sure. So whatever we're doing, wherever we are, the end goal is to see how we can make the country a better place, how we can come back to the continent. Because at the end of the day, the world is actually dependent on Africa, directly or indirectly, and we have to understand this. Otherwise, it's going to be what he say. People that don't have the information or the education leading us. Sadly, that could be what's going to lead to, if we don't understand and position ourselves very well. Yeah.
Well, regardless of whatever point he's trying to make, it's just, to be very sincere, I don't mean disrespect. It doesn't make any sense to compare 60,000 naira to whatever somebody is earning in Europe. I beg your pardon. We all know the rates. It doesn't add
Mm,
up completely. And there are no basis for
exactly.
the comparison, like
Yeah.
we've already mentioned here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's over half an hour already, and I think this is a very valuable topic for people to be aware of. And please, if you are in Germany, in Europe, and you're doing your job, focus on it. That the most important thing is you, what you want to do for yourself, for your family, for the future generation, for your country, and this should be the basis of where you spend the most of your time every day. So people are driven by different values, and you cannot generalize these things. Someone is doing IT for whatever reason. Someone's a medical doctor. Someone chooses to be a bus driver. Someone chooses to be, a caregiver. And not everyone can be a caregiver. No, not everybody can be a caregiver. It's not something that you can just wake up and say, yes, I want to be a caregiver. No way. It's innate. It's something that has to come from within. So at the end, and this is how we are all shaped and built as humans. And this thing is like, it's wired in us. And I think God also knows why He created human beings this way. So not everyone is going to be an IT specialist, a doctor, an engineer, a bus driver, a caregiver, a chef in the restaurant. No way, you know. So please, Mr. Politician, tell people the truth. I think that'll be all from my side for today's show. If you're not on Settling, please sign up on our platform, Settling. We're rolling out great features for you so that you can be informed, so you can be that bridge between home and abroad, telling people the truth, and wherever you find yourself, that you're always contributing to that society, because everywhere where you are, that place is providing some kind of protection, shelter, infrastructure for you. So you also have to give back, really. You also have to give back and stop listening to politicians who lie to you. Yeah, Mike, final words from you so we can wrap it up for the evening.
Yeah, that should be a wrap for today. Thank you so much for being part of the show. We appreciate your support all along, all the way, and see you next 2 weeks. Yeah.
Exactly. See you guys in 2 weeks.